Hey Parker, it's April 27th, 2015. Before I get into my video today, I just wanted to say that your video on Friday was amazing. You do have an amazing singing voice, and you can play the ukulele very, very well. What, today's video is going to be about is, as you know, I do live in Maryland, and I live about half an hour away from DC and about an hour away from Baltimore, give or take. And I don't know if you've heard, but there's been a death of a black man named Freddie Gray. A lot of people blame this on police brutality. He was pretty violently thrown about when police apprehended him, and it's just sort of a long history of police brutality on POC black males, especially, as well as POC females. I mean, I'm not the best person to talk about this. Very obviously, I'm 100% white, but what I do want to say is that it's scary. Even as a white girl who very obviously doesn't really have any fear of the police being discriminated upon because of my race. Like, that's what it gets down to. I don't have to worry about that, but so many of my friends do, and it's very honestly BS. It's angering, it pisses me off that people do have to go through this. I very much am in solidarity with the protesters. I don't think, there's been a long history of police discrimination based on skin color, and there's been so many studies done on it that POC males are perceived as POC people in general are perceived as both older and more dangerous by police. And it's not right. Very obviously, it's not right. It's 2015, no one needs to be worried about the police due to their skin color. It's ridiculous. And so there are numerous protests going on. The main one I'm watching is in Freddie Gray's home city of Baltimore. The main protests are very obviously for Black Lives Matter, and I stand in solidarity with these protesters. Even though these protesters have been violent, they've attacked cop cars, attacked cops. There have been reports of cops with broken limbs, and protesters throwing bottles and rocks and other objects at police and at police cars. I've been watching the live feed of it on the television and online. Protesters have broken police vehicle windows, and now some protesters that I definitely do not necessarily stand with are the Blue Lives Matter that are going on in Annapolis that's about 15 minutes from my house. And that is in reference to Police Lives Matter, because the blue uniforms. Very obviously, police lives do matter, but police don't necessarily have a history of being discriminated against, or at the very least not violently discriminated against by anyone. Usually the emotions that go along with police and civilians interacting with police are respect and fear. In my case, I typically do respect police who are in uniform. That's the way I was raised, because no one in my family has ever had violent interactions with the police or been negatively stereotyped by the police, but many of my friends, and I've heard many stories in classroom discussions about friends who have been harshly stereotyped by the police, or maybe negatively stereotyped by the police, and unfairly judged because of their skin color, and you can see this all the time on the news. You hear about this thing all the time. Another point is that the people on the news continue calling this senseless violence. It is not necessarily senseless violence, as one of my good friends put it, because we're texting each other watching this unfold. It's not really senseless. These people are angry and frustrated and scared with the current situation and the current responses by police and news and other people they know to these senseless crimes. So Parker, I'm sorry, there's not much of a point of this. I'm just watching the news in shock by everything I'm seeing and hearing and seeing on social media. Another thing, you have no social media? Other than Facebook? That blows my mind too, because I have an account for everything. Hopefully stuff chills, but I wouldn't expect it to anytime soon if the protests in Ferguson were any indicator. I will see you tomorrow, Parker. Sorry this video is a little bit morbid and not so much fun, but see ya. DFTBA.